Okay, this is Mr. Ellis. This is our last section in water. Water monitoring. We're going to talk about how we keep water all clean. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is water treatment. Now, water treatment is the process that makes water more acceptable for a specific use, such as drinking, cooking, washing your clothes. Now, we live in the United States of America that has, we pretty much have good water treatment because we have the money to build facilities to clean our water. Whereas some of these poor countries, what we call third world countries, they don't have this money. They don't have the economy enough money to build water treatment. So a lot of times they are more susceptible to um, bacterial diseases because some of the same water that they drinking out of could be the same water that they're pooping in. And so that's not a really good thing. Now, water monitoring, that's the process of keeping an eye on the surface water and the groundwater. Again, it's not done just once a year or once a month. It's done constantly. You got to do it at various depths. You don't do it just at the surface. You got to do it at the surface, the middle of the water source, and at the bottom because you got to be checking all the water all the time. A lot of water counties and cities, they do water monitoring all the time. And they'll send you a little copy of all the stuff that's actually in your water. Of course, we know what water pollution is. That's the contamination of water bodies, rivers, lakes, streams. Sources of water pollution, industrial waste from a factory, runoff from fields from fertilizer. We talked about that in the last section. Eutrophication, all that algae going, all the fertilizers, nitrates, and phosphates. And also runoff from mines, like coal mines, a gold mine, a copper mine, any kind of precious metal that we use. The water can be contaminated by the excess waste that it has. Okay, the two types of pollution. First, we kind of talked about this a little bit. Point source pollution. That's the one where it's single identifiable source of pollution. It could be an oil spill. We know where that oil came from. It came from a boat, some kind of tanker that had oil in it. Sewage from a pipe. If we see sewage pipe burst, we know it's coming from that pipe. Waste from a factory that flows into a water supply. So a factory has a pipe and you see it going into water, that is point source because you know exactly where it's coming from. Now the next one is actually called non-point source pollution. This is the pollution where it can't be 100% identified. We don't know exactly where it's coming from. We've got an idea, but we don't know exactly. For instance, we talked about how fertilizer runoff is a non-point because if you got a pond back behind your house, you don't know if that fertilizer came from the field next to your house or if it came from fertilizer that had washed off 2 miles down the road or 10 miles down the road. Shoot, during the hurricane, you had all that flooding. It could have come all the way up from almost to Fayetteville or Elizabeth, or would come from like maybe Elizabethtown. Well, no, it wouldn't come from Elizabethtown. Maybe Lillington or Irwin. You would not know where it came from. Oil runoff from streets. And, you go to a parking lot. A lot of times cars, they leak stuff, whether it's oil or some engine coolant or something like that. And you go into an empty parking lot and you can see the spots where they left oil spots or spots on the parking spots. You don't know which car it came from, but you know it. That water, those chemicals can be washed into like a sewer grate, and that's a non-point source pollution because we don't know what car it actually came from. Pesticides. Those are the things toxic chemicals that we spray to kill things. There's different types. There's herbicides like Roundup. You got some weeds in your garden or on your driveway, you spray some Roundup on it, it kills the weeds, burns them up. You got insecticides. Now, right now, we got these mosquitoes that have been flying around because of the hurricane and all that standing water. Well, they've been spraying these insecticides to kill the mosquitoes. And of course, you have a fungicide which kills fungus. Normally, you put that on plants because you don't want the plants, especially when it rains a lot, it can get a lot of mildew and fungus on it, and you put fungicides on it. And it would kill them and stuff. But this is what you use when you get athlete's foot. All you athletes out there, fungus on your foot, you got to get one of those fungicides, those creams that you put on it. Stewardship. Stewardship is taking care of stuff. You need to be a good steward. I always think about going to church and they tell you need to be a good steward of your money. You need to give it to the church and help people, help the needy, that kind of stuff. Well, the same way with the environment. You need to be the good steward. You don't need to waste water. You don't need to go take your trash, go to McDonald's for the drive-through, take your drink in your bag and just throw it out in the yard and go in the ditch. That's not being a good steward. Okay, contaminants. Those are the things that it usually pollute stuff. It could be physical contaminants, like maybe dirt. It could be chemical or fertilizers. Biological would be like the dead animals that get in the water with the bacteria. And of course, radiological is like your nuclear waste, which we'll talk about later when we do energy later on in December. Okay. Water conservation, that's the preservation, that means keeping it, control, and development of water resources, both on the surface in our rivers, lakes, and streams, and then under the ground. It also helps prevent pollution. Water conservation. Conservation means you want to save it. Okay, fluorine is an element, and we'll talk about elements when we do chemistry in February, but fluorine is an element, a chemical that you put in drinking water, and it's also called fluoride. It's also in your toothpaste. It helps prevent tooth decay. So if you next time you're looking at your toothpaste, look at it. It'll have fluoride. Okay, and then chlorine. This is very important. This is on the EOG, I'm telling y'all. Chlorine is a chemical that they put in water to kill microorganisms like bacteria. That's why we put chlorine in pools, because it kills the bacteria. You don't want to be swimming in no water and you don't know what kind of bacteria, because that stuff can get in your mouth and make you sick. Now, there's some bacteria that eat your flesh, so you don't want any of that. I think that's pretty much the last one. So I hope y'all enjoyed this last one, because the next section that we do is going to be ecosystems and ecology. So we get to talk about all the plants and food, predator-prey relationships, and food webs and food chains. So we get to talk about animals and plant stuff. It won't be as boring as water, okay? So I'll see y'all next time. I'll turn this thing off.